How y'all doing today? I'm Minnie Zankil, and this is another segment of the Apocalypse of a Moor book discussion. Um, this time we are going over chapter 4. This is the 14th Amendment. Um, there's a lot of confusion behind the 14th Amendment. There's also a lot of lies behind the 14th Amendment. I'm just going to jump right into it. First off, the 14th Amendment, what the 14th Amendment did was, and you can find this in the slaughterhouse cases. This is for all my trolls out there. You can find this in the slaughterhouse cases. The 14th Amendment created a U.S. citizen that is totally separate from a state citizen. Now, why that is so important is because prior to the 14th Amendment, in order to be a U.S. citizen, you had to be a state citizen. um, Prior to the 14th Amendment, immigration was done through the states. Uh, Although the D.C. controlled who came into the country, in order to be a citizen, you had to actually apply to the state in which you wanted to reside in. Because you have to remember, the United States, each state is its own country, it's its own nation. They have their own flags and they have their own constitutions. They all came together under the Constitution for the United States of America back then. But uh, essentially, when a person came, they would have to apply to the states for immigration. Um, and basically, uh, you would have to be a state citizen in order to be a U.S. citizen. There was no separate U.S. citizen per se. Um, the uh, the 14th Amendment created a separation and created a U.S. citizen that is wholly separate from a state citizen. So uh, basically, they took the sovereignty away from the states. So now uh, people come in and apply to be U.S. citizens as opposed to state citizens. That's one piece of sovereignty that they took away from the states. Like I said, it created a U.S. citizen that is totally separate and distinct from a state citizen. Um, the uh, the U.S. citizen for basically is the straw man. Um, Also, what the 14th Amendment did, it wasn't automatic for our people. It wasn't automatic for our people. Um, Actually, they had to develop the immigration and naturalization laws, which came 2 years after the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment was 1868. The immigration and naturalization laws, they weren't created until 1870. Um, and you can find those in a case called United States versus Wong Kim Ark, or vice versa. I think it's Wong Kim Ark versus United States, but it's one of those versions. But they actually tell you that the immigration laws for the quote unquote descendants of Africans um, weren't created until 1870. Um, so, with that said, that's one of the lies that have been told to our people and forced on our people uh, since the inception of the 14th Amendment. Um, Another lie that was told about the 14th Amendment is that it was properly ratified. You got the 1968 Senate congressional records. They will tell you that there were several states at the time who protested the 14th Amendment because, um, one, they didn't get a chance to vote on the 14th Amendment. This is right after the Civil War. Um, but they didn't get a chance to vote. The amendment wasn't sent to the sitting president at the time. So and these are the procedures according to the Constitution. After Congress votes on the amendment, then it's supposed to be sent to the president for approval. Well, it was never sent to the president. It was never sent to the sitting president. So uh, that basically invalidates it or voids it because it's procedurally void. So they're basically forcing us into a procedurally void uh, amendment. Now, we have to talk about also what they mean when they say all those born in the United States. We have to talk about the wording of the amendment itself. Um, all those born in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Now that first statement, that first sentence, that first phrase uh, points you to the thought that they are talking about a singular entity. Um, because that's the enclave clause that they're speaking on, because the enclave clause of the Constitution basically says Congress has the authority to make laws for the 10 square mile of DC and federal areas. So when they talk about and subject to the jurisdiction thereof, they are referring to the enclave clause. Now, mind you, the U.S. citizen was created by the United States. So the United States, the federal United States, Washington, D.C., has jurisdiction over that entity. Um, it doesn't have jurisdiction over state citizens because of the enclave clause. The states were supposed to be sovereign. So um, Congress can only make laws for the straw man. Now, they fooled they fooled us into believing that we were the straw man. So, which gave them jurisdiction over us, a de facto jurisdiction over us, basically because of our consent. Um, when the feds are out here harassing people and messing people, they're literally out of their jurisdiction. But they have the people believing that they are U.S. citizens. They have been believing the lie. So they are literally usurping a jurisdiction, forcing people into a U.S. citizen, forcing our people into a U.S. citizen status. This is one of the things that the sovereign citizens are fighting, because they found out that basically their state citizenship has been taken away. There is no more state citizenship. There's only U.S. citizenship. Um, so with that, when just let's go over a recap real quick what the 14th Amendment did. The 14th Amendment created a U.S. citizen wholly separate from a state citizen. State citizens don't even exist no more. This is what the sovereign citizen movement is about. This is how the birth certificate system and all of that came about, because they found out about it. the uh, 14th Amendment only gave our ancestors, the opportunity to apply for U.S. citizenship. The reason for this, the United States is foreign to North America. They are foreigners. So they could not come in and say, okay, you're part of us. That's not how things work internationally. Um, so that's why the 14th Amendment only gave our ancestors the opportunity to apply for citizenship, because they couldn't force it on us. They're a foreign entity. We are the indigenous people of the land. So, um, that they had to give us that opportunity. That's the same as what they do with the quote unquote Native Americans or the Indians. Um, as long as they're on their reservations, they're not U.S. citizens. But the moment they come off the reservation and start using the Social Security number and all of that, they become U.S. citizens and fall under the jurisdiction of the United States, which they're still under the jurisdiction of the United States. They call it a protectorate. Um, but as it pertains to the 14th Amendment, that only deals with those people whom they call Negroes, or the descendants of the slaves. That is the trickery that has kept us in a stateless status since its inception, because we believed that we were U.S. citizens and didn't pursue our own nationhood or nationality after slavery. So, this is one of the big things for us. We have to overcome this 14th Amendment lie, because it did not turn us into U.S. citizens, but they are forcing us into this feigned U.S. citizen status to keep us in a stateless status. Because in this stateless status, we have no power. We have no power whatsoever. We have none. We are just a stateless. We have no connection to any piece of land. So that's what the 14th Amendment. It was more or less about the trickery, and to keep our people in a stateless status, because it was the application, the immigration naturalization application was never told to our people. We were just told that it was automatic. You were born here, so it's automatic. But that's for the straw man. Those are for the immigrants who come in who don't know any better. Uh, it only applies to DC. Um, and this goes back to the it's a restatement of the entire Constitution prior to it. That's why if you actually go back through the 14th Amendment and you look at it, the first part of it is a restatement of the Fourth and Fifth Amendments, and then I think they have some more stuff in there about voting and when Congress is supposed to meet, and it's a lot of things that are basically restatements of the entire 13 amendments prior to it. There are some changes. Some of the privileges, some of the rights have become privileges, but at the same time, that still doesn't matter to us, because we're not in that system we thought that we were in. We've never been in that system. They've always kept us in this stateless status. So that is basically a good thing, because we're not in that system. We don't have to fight to get out of that system like the actual sovereign citizens. So, I hope I gave you some insight on this 14th Amendment, because it's a deep thing. It's a deep lie that they put on us as a people and everybody involved, even the original state citizens. It's a deep lie that they put out here for us. So yeah, I think I'm gonna leave it at that for this chapter. I mean, if you want to go deeper, the book is called The Apocalypse of a Moor. Go get it. Go look it up. And it's a good book. It's about 140 pages of some real interesting information, verifiable information. Uh, but yeah, I'm gonna leave it at this, and y'all have a good rest of the day or whatever, rest of the night, wherever you are, and peace and love. Islam.